uncovering the dark secrets, Salem Witchcraft Trials, and haunted legends. Did you know that more than 200 people were accused of witchcraft during the Salem Witch Trials? But how did these accusations spread so quickly? Today, I am uncovering the dark secrets of Salem, the witch trials, and their haunted legacy. In 1692, an air of suspicion and fear swept through the town of Salem, Massachusetts. It was a time when the lines between reality and superstition blurred, leading to one of the darkest chapters in American history, the Salem Witch Trials. Innocent lives were lost, hysteria took over, and to this day, the town remains haunted by its past and by those whose voices were silenced. But what really happened during those harrowing months? Why did a town turn against its own? Salem in the late 1600s was a deeply religious, isolated community. The Puritans, who had fled religious persecution in England, lived in constant fear of the devil's influence. Winters were harsh, food was scarce, and the threat of disease and attacks from neighboring Native American tribes loomed large. In such an environment, fear festered. It took just one spark to ignite the flames of hysteria. It all began in the home of Reverend Samuel Parris, when his niece Abigail Williams and daughter Betty started displaying disturbing behavior. No one could explain their fits, and soon, rumors of witchcraft spread like wildfire. Fear took root, and suspicion spread through the town like a plague. The first to be accused was Tituba, an enslaved woman from Barbados. It's said that under pressure, she confessed to using dark magic, fueling the fears that the devil had infiltrated the town. Following her confession, two other women, Sarah Good and Sarah Osborne, were also accused. Their only crime? Being outcasts in the rigid Puritan society. None of these women were witches, but in the eyes of Salem, they became scapegoats for the town's growing paranoia. The more they pleaded for their innocence, the more people turned against them. These accusations tore apart families, pitted neighbor against neighbor, and dragged Salem into a fevered nightmare. In a matter of months, the accusations spiraled out of control. Ordinary women, mothers, daughters, and wives were dragged before the court. The trials were a mockery of justice. Evidence was based on dreams, visions, and spectral appearances, where the spirit of the accused was said to torment the victims, and the so-called afflicted, mostly young girls, would scream and collapse in fits, claiming the accused were cursing them. Rebecca Nurse, a pious, elderly woman, was dragged to trial. Her crime? Simply being accused. No one was safe. Martha Corey, an outspoken critic of the trials, was accused by her own husband. Families were torn apart by the poison of suspicion. The trials culminated in brutal executions. 19 people were hanged on Gallows Hill, crying out their innocence with their final breaths. Among them was John Proctor, a respected farmer who had dared to criticize the trials. His wife, Elizabeth, was also accused, but her execution was delayed because she was pregnant. The injustice reached its peak with Giles Corey. Refusing to enter a plea, Corey was pressed to death under heavy stones. His defiance became a symbol of resistance, but his death, like the others, left deep scars on the conscience of Salem. By the time the trials ended in 1693, 25 people were dead, either hanged, crushed, or from the harsh conditions of prison. It wasn't until years later that those involved began to express regret. Judge Samuel Sewall, one of the key figures, publicly confessed to his role in the tragedy. The damage, however, was done. The Salem Witch Trials had left an indelible mark on history, and the town of Salem would never be the same again. Today, Salem is a town where history and legend intertwine. visitors come to explore its haunted past, walking the same streets where the accused once lived. Some say the spirits of those wrongfully condemned still linger, restless and seeking justice. Is Salem truly haunted by ghosts, or is it haunted by its own dark legacy? The Salem Witch Trials serve as a reminder of the dangers of hysteria, scapegoating, and mob mentality. It was a time when fear overpowered reason, and innocent lives were lost because of it. More than 300 years later, the lessons of Salem remain relevant. As you walk through the town today, you can still feel the weight of its tragic past, a place forever haunted, not just by the ghosts of its victims, but by the collective guilt of a town that turned on its own. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Salem Witch Trials, be sure to subscribe for more stories from history, and let us know in the comments, what would you have done if you were in Salem during